You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Global Gamers Invitational. This is Mac and I'm here with Railcoon, and we have game one of the series between TLO and his opponent TTOne. Players, despite having very similar names, are not really affiliated. They are opponents here in this game. TLO was one of the invited players for this tournament. TTOne fought his way through the ranks and earned his position, eliminating some very good players on the way, most notably of which was Demaga. Demaga is in the tournament. He made it in as a wild card, and it'd be pretty cool to see a rematch between TT1. Once again, I do want to thank those sponsors, iFixit, SCVs for the real world, and also Esports United, who is through Intel supplying us with some processors and motherboard packages for the top three finalists, and of course the Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds, and they're providing a ton of t-shirts. So without further ado, let us get to the game on Metalopolis, TT1 versus TLO. So what do you think about this one, Railcoon?
Well, this one should be fun. TT1 is a very good Protoss player, and he is capable of throwing out some interesting check switches, trying to catch you out of position, but he's also a very good, solid mechanical player. So I can't really call which direction this game's going to go. It's hard to say which one's a favorite. Fan favorite is definitely going to be TLO, but if TT1 is on his game, he definitely has the capability of giving us a good series here against TLO. And
yeah, definitely can't say enough good things about TT1. TLO, of course, a fan favorite, mostly because he's an incredibly creative and diverse, dynamic player. But TT1's shown himself to be ruthlessly efficient in the qualifying rounds. I was very impressed by his play, and again, I can't say this enough, he's a good Canadian kid and can do no wrong in my book. So I really hope he can stick it to TLO, but then again, TLO, one of my favorite players, so this is going to be tough for me to have any favorites.
Yeah, and TLO does get favorites, does get bonus points for when he played Boxer, and Boxer said he was a fan. I mean, it makes it hard to root against anybody who Boxer says he's a fan of. That's pretty crazy. Both players scouting each other out. If you look at TT1's scouting pattern, he did see that SV poking in, they crossed paths, so he didn't go too far up that ramp. Had an idea that TLO was not there, but he did check just in case it was a very, very late scout. And then he does find the Marine on the ramp of the last base, so he's not going to be able to get in and scout. Just get that probe away, hold this watchtower, because in these positions that watchtower will be very helpful. So we do like the idea to just pull back the probe, make it useful by holding down this vision on the map.
Yes, and we see that a TLO SCV has breached TT1's base before that Stalker could get in. Meanwhile, TLO opting for a Reaper opening, which is obviously a very solid play on this map. TLO, however, I'm not even going to pretend to know what he's planning to do with this Reaper. He's getting even Reaper speed, so let's see what he's got in store. Obviously, Reaper's not very strong against Stalkers or Protoss in general beyond the very, very early parts of the game, but TLO might have something up his sleeve that we've never even heard of, so I am not going to be calling him out for making a mistake yet.
He did get a second refinery down, and, you know, there is the possibility of going Reapers versus Protoss. I have seen some good Terrans actually pull that off just because of the what the hell are you doing factor from your opponent. They don't expect you to make that many Reapers. So you can kind of sneak in a win every now and then with that sort of a play. But transitioning into really fast Ghosts, still only one tech lab. Just going to start off with Reapers and then get some Marines out of this reactor, back it up with some Ghosts, and that'll give him a good position against most of the units early on that the Protoss player can make. He'll be able to just hit the gateway units, take away basically half their life with an EMP. If he goes for Immortals, of course, their main ability, the Hardened Shields, will be shut down. Even if he catches you off guard with some Colossus, 100 shields is a lot to be taking off of a low health unit like that. And these Reapers are going to get a couple of probe kills before they're forced out.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see that. I was saying earlier how the Stalkers really shut down Reaper play, but TLO showing they can still find little windows here and there. They do have the speed, so they are so quick. And really, they're just being used, like I said, as glorified scouts who took out several probes in the meanwhile. And I think I do see what TLO is sort of planning. I would expect to see more Marauders, so I could be totally wrong. But using the Reapers, he can really chew up Zealots by hiding them behind other Terran units. So with really good control, Reapers' lack of hit points, not really a liability. You can use those Marines as damage absorbers. And of course, like you said, the Ghost is there for the EMP, and that can really chew up a Protoss force so quickly. But of course, he is grabbing an expansion and getting ready for a later build. TT1 very far ahead in terms of economy because he has that early expansion and no diminishing returns on the mineral count. So TT1 enjoying a slight advantage here.
Another thing that the Ghosts are good for is if you get a lot of them out and you force your opponent to get a lot of Zealots with your other units, you can sort of just throw out a lot of snipes and take out a ton of Zealots like that. Get a, just snipe, 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 dump all of their energy onto the Zealots, and suddenly he's just got a couple Stalkers sitting there by themselves going, where did our meat shields go? So if he continues to produce Ghosts here, he could still do a lot of damage, even though it's a little bit of an unusual unit composition. But it does look like after 2 Ghosts, he is switching into Marauders at the moment. He did get that expansion up once he saw that TT1's was in progress, so he doesn't want to keep up in the number of expansions, not get too far behind. And he is pushing forward with this, what looks like kind of a motley crew of units, 3 Reapers, 2 Ghosts, a bunch of Marines, and a single Marauder. But if he controls this really well, he could actually do a good amount of damage.
One thing he does not have going for himself is he has a very, very small army. That EMP was beautiful, and TT1 forced to retreat because his army just got cut by about 40%. So he's really hurting, but he does fall back. TT1 also falling back, and looks like we'll be resetting this encounter from the get-go. But the Reapers are jumping in, using that vision to hurt the pylon, maybe kill some more probes, but TT1 does have a Stalker, and TLO running away once again.
Yeah, he's actually going to try and take out that pylon completely before he moves on, because he does know that that pylon would be a very good warp-in point for TT1. So nice decision there by TLO to use those Reapers very effectively with their anti-building attack. Very, very quick to take down pylons. And it will mean that if he is able to force TT1 into an engagement here, it'll put him in a slightly worse position, as he has to rebuild that pylon somewhere else to get quick warp-ins into the middle of the map.
Still, neither player really in a position to do some serious damage. You'll see that TT1 had to go for a late gas. He's been on only one, getting a second assimilator just now. So TT1 was forced to go heavy in the Zealot composition. You can see quite clearly he is Zealot heavy. And seeing the large number of Terran infantry, he needs sentries and he needs higher tech. So we'll expect to see him reaching for either Colossus or Templar fairly soon. Robotics facility is going down, so it looks like we're going to be going the Colossus route.
Yeah, and the worker differential is not that big. It's only about 5. TLO with his mules is able to even that out pretty effectively. And TT1's not mining from the gas at his natural at all, which is a pretty major point, since he is dropping that robotics facility. If he wants to make really anything out of that, he will need the extra gas. But he only just now starts that, which might delay him ever so slightly. And in a close game against a good player, a little thing like that can make a huge difference. But 2 huge EMPs on the forces of TT1, microing very well, using that slowing shot of the Marauders just to take out these Zealots. That medevac does get focus fired by the Stalkers. Another great EMP. There's just so many units here by TT1 that TLO's control is just having a hard time of evening out this fight.
Yeah, we may not have noticed there was that second medevac was completely full. It had 6 or 5 Marines and a couple Reapers. And if TLO loses this fight, looks like he won't. That is the reason, a huge loss. I think he was trying to get a drop ready to go, and TT1 came knocking on his door just in time and really caught TLO with his pants down. He's going to lose this engineering bay, and he is really hurting now.
Yeah, that warp-in pylon just a little bit too far away for him to get his reinforcements in as quickly as TLO. So he's going to push in again. That EMP not hitting quite as many units as the previous ones, but these Zealots have the Marauders kind of trapped into the corner. There's not many places for him to run, but once all the Zealots are killed, once again you see TTOne backing off, because he does not want to be fighting Marauders and Marines with just unsupported Stalkers unless he has Blink. So every time he runs out of those Zealots, he backs off. Really intelligent play by TT1 instead of pushing it too aggressively. And one thing that we could be seeing him doing here that he's not going for at all is maybe dropping an expansion while he has TLO playing very, very defensively.
Wouldn't be a terrible idea because TT1 currently on 65 probes, way more than he needs, but here he's pressing again. Now he has an Immortal to back himself up. TLO's force is so small right now, way behind on the worker count, and we're looking like TLO going to have a really hard time getting out of this hole he's in right now because he needs to get on the offensive and force TT1 to stop knocking down his front door.
Yeah, and if you look at these medevacs, they're all almost completely out of energy. TLO, again, still doing a great job with controlling the Marauders and this slowing shot, really making those Zealots much less effective. He does kill that Ghost before it could really get an EMP off, and I do believe it had enough energy, so that's going to allow the Immortal to do a ton more damage than it would have normally. And he is coming in here, and he's knocking down a lot of units, but TLO had great positioning with his Marauders sitting there in the choke points, so that TT1's forces had to narrow down in order to fight them, and that just allows him to take what looked like it might have been a bad situation and turn it around, because Stim Marauders do so well versus Stalkers.
Yeah, TLO's been playing very well, but he's winning the fights. You look at the units lost, he's actually doing extremely well, about I think a 1,300 mineral differential, but that has been more than made up for the fact that he is so far behind in worker count. He has not been pumping SCVs. The SCVs have been getting killed, and meanwhile, what has TT1 been doing in his base? Getting the tech for Colossus. I believe he is working on the extended thermal lance and getting his forge down, operating on 2 robo bays, so TT1 is going to be able to keep up this pressure. I do agree with you in pointing out that he didn't grab that 3rd base, and that might come back to haunt him as his minerals are starting to run dry. See TLO thinking along the same lines. He has a Reaper at the expansion, but I imagine the next follow-up attack is going to be very hard for TLO to fend off. He needs to put TT1 off balance, or he's just going to get rolled by these Colossus.
When the Reaper actually catches a probe moving up into his 3rd base to plant that Nexus, so he is aware that his opponent is now attempting to take that expansion because he did get that ping from the Stalker. Your forces are under attack. That will give him the cue that, oh, my opponent's trying to expand, so I'm going to fly in with a drop. Almost perfect timing, but it does look like the range will finish. If he got in there just a few seconds earlier, he may have been able to snipe the range upgrade, but he finishes off the building just to slow down the production of Colossus, and then flies away with all 4 Marauders. But that timing was almost perfect.
Yeah, that's the threat that he needed to do. TT1 now has to worry about the threat of drops. He's leaving his Colossus in position when really he wants to be pressuring with those. It takes a long time to move your army. What he can do is move his ground forces along the road, leave his Colossus at home, and then just walk down the ramp, the cliff edge. But it looks like he's getting ready to push out. TLO not being aggressive, grabbing a 3rd expansion, and this is going to be quite possibly the push that determines the battle. TLO's got to hold this off, or he is done for.
Yeah, he has continued to produce these Ghosts throughout the entire game, and he's gotten some great EMPs. Another one hitting almost every single unit of TT1. Those EMPs have been amazing for him, but these 3 Colossus are doing so much damage to his ground forces that he is forced to GG because there's just no possible way he can hold that off, even with the amazing EMP. Well played game from both players, but TT1 does manage to close it out with some Colossus.